Welcome back to Borderlines, the only show that takes you beyond borders. I'm going to open, permit me, I'm going to open the lines for about 10 minutes before we begin with my next guest. 020127709993. Female line is 020146579190. WhatsApp is 0809597585. What did you hear in my conversation with Alice? What are your comments? What were the questions that it triggered in you? What were the emotions? I also found something interesting. Most of you called her courageous. She's Palestinian, no? You called her courageous. You thought she was bold. You prayed for her. She's a Palestinian. Is that because she was Christian? We must do honest talk on this show. This is Borderlines after all. You're all going to get 1 minute each because I only have like 10 minutes to spare. I'm coming to your calls now. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh.
Your name, where you're calling from, please.
My name is Sam from Moe.
Go ahead, Sam. 1 minute.
My observation, this thing is concerned. People living in Palestine, they continue to suffer as far as the superpowers are taking charge of that. Go back to history. Persia, we are ruling them. It came to the time of Romans. It came to the time of Crusade when they got out of the Roman hand, and then the Arabs took over the place, and then the Westerners wanted to take over the Holy Land, and now the Arab is in charge of the whole of that area. Now the West is the one that installed this very regime in that place. As long as superpowers want to take the Holy Land, I didn't allow the people to rule themselves. All the citizens living there to continue to have problems. I think it's the external people that are causing problems in that place. That is my observation.
Thank you very much. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you have to turn your radio off, please.
Yeah.
Your name?
I'm Pastor Badamosi. It's not because she's a Christian. My contribution is not because she is a Christian. Contribution is because it was based on the point of of compassion, of empathy, of being able to stand. Because that place, she said, is a very good land, fertile land, and they've been enjoying this for centuries, and they want to take it over from them. That's the main reason I actually congratulated her and give her some stimulus. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. Hello? Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from and your comments in 1 minute. Dave, go ahead.
This is Dave from Alimashin.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my own takeaway is about I think one thing that's puzzling me is how come that despite the fact she has an Israeli citizenship, it doesn't yet cover her up and her family. Like, why that thing? And then which part of Bethlehem is she referring that they're saying is the land they're stealing, that their family are struggling for land? The land, I mean.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't understand.
Like, which part of Bethlehem is that their land?
Well, were you listening to the show at the beginning?
I didn't join from the start.
Okay, it's an area called Al Makar, which is in Bet Jala, which is in Bethlehem, which is a UNESCO protected area.
Okay, Al Makar.
Then yes.
Then how come as Israeli citizenship it doesn't seem like a guarantee or something?
No. The problem isn't her citizenship.
The problem is the fact that what?
The problem wasn't her citizenship. The problem is that Israeli settlers are trying to take her land or the land of her family.
Israeli citizenship,
yeah,
but she's not Israeli now. So why come that the Israeli citizens want to still push away an Israeli citizen?
Well, have you heard of apartheid?
Huh?
Have you heard of apartheid?
I've heard about apartheid.
That's what's going on. Thank you. Right. Oh, the line's gone. I was just about to pick up. You're okay? Let's do this. Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, Rapushku is my name.
Yes, go ahead, Rapuchuku.
Well, I just encourage your guest, Alice. You know, why? Because she made some touching statements where he's analyzing their deals, you know. They don't have guns, they don't have knives. They are standing on their ground with prayers, you know, trusting God for miracles. She didn't live for France like others. She stand on her ground, you know, with her parents. I mean, it's wonderful. That's why God she trusted. Continue rescuing and honoring them. Sooner or later.
Thank you.
Peace is gonna come their way.
Thank you very much.
I believe that. Thank you and God bless.
God bless you too. Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. What's your name? Where you calling from? And your comment in 1 minute, please.
Yeah, Mr. Evangelist Johnson, I'm calling from Lagos. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Evangelist.
I support. I called to support Alice because of her faith. That faith, that little faith, is so powerful, and it's that faith that will help her out. Because I said it before, what is making Nigerians to suffer what we are suffering today is that because our so-called even Christian leaders, they are so afraid. There's no faith. They don't want to stand their listening. They always just from afar. They will be talking from afar. They don't know that if we challenge what is going on here in Nigeria today, the Lord God Almighty will stand with us.
Okay, do you support? Okay, Evangelist, would you support the faith or the courage of those Palestinians in Gaza, or you don't think they are courageous?
They are courageous. They are courageous. From what I'm hearing from that lady, if they still stand on that, they must succeed. They must win. That's what I know. Because you cannot win God. You cannot.
Thank you very much. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
You need to turn your radio off, please.
Yes. Yeah. Good evening, sister. Again.
Good afternoon. Oh, good. Yes. Go ahead.
Good evening. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, my own take is just that I think I will encourage the both parties. You know, talking from the angle of Alice now, these people have been resilient enough, and the whole world, except we just want to be unduly sentimental. I mean, the whole world could see that. I mean, they have received enough, a lot, especially the innocent children and vulnerable, women, for just a single cause. So what I will encourage is just that for the Hamas leaders, to reach a compromise, even though...
Well, actually, Alice's issue is not Hamas. Alice, this is the thing. People tend to get this mixed up. The issue of Hamas is in Gaza. Alice is in the West Bank. She's in Bethlehem. She's in her family's land. She is Christian. She is a Palestinian. She's a Christian Israeli with Israeli citizenship, right?
No, okay, sorry. I understand, but you know what I'm saying is that if the whole thing is sorted out from the top, there won't be any kind of intra or feelings, intra-hatred and all sorts of humiliations there. That's why I quickly top up with that amount or whatever. Once it's sorted out over there, I think the whole thing I could understand how traumatic it could be. Even in your land, they will see you as a stranger. And it's the same thing we are feeling here in Nigeria too.
Thank you
Many
very
people
much.
have been slaves right there in Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, people, that's all the calls that I can take. Now, I have another special guest with me. This time, we're not flying. We're not going all the way to the land of Palestine. We're not going to Al-Makor. We're not going to a UNESCO site. We are staying in Nigeria. So here's the thing. For the last 11 months, we've given extensive coverage to the Israeli-Palestine conflict. In fact, Israeli-Gaza war. If you've been following and if you've been listening, By now, you should know that the highlights of this 76-year-old genocide, displacement, Nakba, conflict, war, whatever you want to call it, includes but not limited to certain points. Israeli occupation of the West Bank and Gaza. Remember, we just spoke with Alice. The fact that Gaza is called officially by many as the world's largest open-air prison. The status of Jerusalem. The Israeli settlers and Israeli settlements, which has been judged by the ICJ to be illegal. The issue of borders and border control. The issue Israel constantly talks about security. What about the security for the Palestinians? We've also talked about water rights. The fact that Israel controls pretty much every element of survival for the Palestinians, including water. The permit regime. What is that? The permit regime is where for a Gazan to get out of Gaza, to cross over to see their cousin who may be living in the West Bank, in Ramallah, in Rafah, in any of those places, they need to get a permit from Israel. Okay? They need to get a permit from Israel to be able to go. And if Israel says, we're not giving you a permit, they don't ever get to leave Gaza. The other issue is the Palestinian freedom of movement and the Palestinian right of return. Israel, from 1947, has been promoting the Palestinian right, the Israeli right to return. In actual fact, Zionism was mass adoption, if you like, massively adopted after 1948. Prior to that, Jews had not massively adopted it, but they adopted it as part of the campaign by Israel for Jews to return to Israel, well, Palestinian land, which is now called Israel. So the right, however, the other side of that is the fact that Palestinians do not get that right. The Palestinians, over 1 million Palestinians who were Nakbad, in Nakba means expelled, in 1948, never got the right to return. Most of them became refugees all over the world. So anyway, now I can tell you about my special guest. He's the Nigerian former Minister of Tourism and Culture. He has been possibly, and I can't say this, I'll say this confidently, perhaps the most vocal Nigerian, if not the most vocal African individual, I'm talking about, not country, African, for the freedom of the Palestine, especially since October 7th. He recently had an interview with the Palestinian Public Broadcasting Corporation, something no other Nigerian has done. So we're going to play you the clips because I heard that interview and I thought, I need to have Chief Femi Fani-Kayode on this show because we've had him before. And we know he likes to give it straight. He talks straight. He doesn't mince his words. In fact, he's unforgiving. So you better brace up, people. So we're going to start this by playing his interviews and then we'll play clips and then he and I will discuss it. Chief, welcome.
Thank you very much. A great honor for me to be here. I appreciate your inviting me. Thanks so much.
It's an honor to have you. This is Borderlines, and of course on Borderlines, straight talk, as straight as it comes, right? So let's start. So Israel, specifically the Netanyahu government, has continued to defy international resolutions and clamor for an end to its genocidal war in Gaza. For days, hundreds of thousands of Israelis have protested against Netanyahu's government on the streets and his continued refusal to end the offensive against Palestine. In fact, many of them now call him a liar, and they believe that he sacrificed the lives of their loved ones in order to have control of the Philadelphia corridor. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I am glad. It gladdens my heart the fact that the Israelis themselves, probably the majority of them, openly or privately, have begun to recognize and accept the fact that their prime minister, their leader, Bibi Netanyahu, is nothing but a perfidious monster. He has no intention whatsoever of putting in place a ceasefire, having any kind of deal with Palestinian people. He has no intention of allowing harmony and peace continue in the West Bank. In fact, he wants to destroy and Gaza, the West Bank. And of course, he intends to continue to decimate, destroy, completely dismantle and eradicate Gaza and its people. That is his vision. That is his intention. And when you look at it, the fallout of that is that in Israel itself, many, including those that were in his own so-called war cabinet, are questioning his policies, questioning his tactics. The Americans are appealing to him morning, day, and night to show restraint. The British have said they are no longer going to supply the same number of weapons that they did in the past. The new British government, they've cut down arms supply, saying that they do not want to be complicit in genocide. Anybody that calls what is going on in Gaza a war is either ignorant or being mischievous or is on the payroll of the Israelis. It is nothing but genocide, carnage, and massacre. And Bibi Netanyahu and his cabinet and his national security minister and his minister of finance, and indeed all of those that are around him, will be held accountable for their actions one day at the International Court of Justice.
Indeed.
At the International Criminal Court.
Of course, yes, indeed. So I'm going to play a clip from your interview at the Palestinian Broadcasting Authority. Just 1 second. Let's play that, please. And then I'm going to ask your comments.
Sure. Apart from the Kenyan government and perhaps one or two others that has not been brought to my attention, I can assure you that the overwhelming majority of African governments, and I really say this from the bottom of my heart, are solidly against this kind of evil activity because we understand it. It's been done to us over the years, and it was not easy for us to be liberated. Nelson Mandela was regarded as a terrorist at one point, but South Africa eventually was liberated after many, many years of apartheid. Rhodesia became Zimbabwe. Angola was free. Mozambique was free. Nigeria was free. It takes time. Yes, we do identify with this. We do recognize what the Jews are doing. We do regard it as being unacceptable, and we are with your people. Of course, the reality of it is that for many, many years, just like the rest of the world, we were subjected to propaganda of the worst form. Many of us believe strongly in the state of Israel, particularly the Christians. We loved the state of Israel. I was one of those that believed in Israel for many, many years, because throughout my Western education, I was told that Israel could do no wrong. And as a Christian, I believed that this was the right thing to do. But then it occurred to me that the Israel of the Bible, that the Bible spoke about, that God loved, and that God and that also loved God, is certainly not the Israel of today. Today, the Israel that we have are basically, white European settlers who came to your part of the world in 1948. Some came even later, and they were foisted on you. These are not even original Semites. These are not people that come from there. These are essentially European settlers, and they have established a colonial state in your part of the world, and they have occupied the land, and they're killing the people, the indigenous people of the land. This is something that we can identify with in Africa because we know what it's like to suffer such things. So we are with you. We understand. It's not just passion. It's not just talking. We are with you in every way. And I assure you, this fight is a fight against injustice. And I say it again, it is only a question of time. The price that is being paid now in blood, they kill everybody. They've killed not just Palestinian leaders, they've killed not just Hanania, they've killed not just Palestinian leaders, both from Fatah, both from Hamas, even those that are non-aligned at all. They've killed Palestinian intellectuals, women and children. They've killed everybody. They're also killing leaders of other countries in the Middle East. It's a rogue state.
That was too early. Right. I've got a question for you. That was look, the whole interview is very powerful. So I didn't even know which clip to go for. But let's talk about this. So despite 11 months of awareness, education, interviews with the likes of yourself, with historians, with the likes of Ken Roth of Human Rights Watch, with Israeli, Muslim pastors, etc. There are still some Nigerians who still believe Israel is defending itself against terrorists. They refer to the Hamas attack on October the 7th as a terrorist attack. Is this issue about terrorism? Again, let me bring in another point in there. Some 20 odd countries in the West have prescribed Hamas as a terrorist organization, including the UK, the US, the EU, etc., etc. What are your thoughts on that? Is this a case of Israel defending itself against terrorism as a result of October 7th? Or is it something somewhat more sinister?
Yeah. Well, the fallacy. Well, first of all, let me just say, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that clip that you played.
Oh, so sorry.
I couldn't hear. But that's all right. I mean, whatever it is, we can refer to it, and I'm delighted to respond. I just hope what I say corresponds with that. But in direct, answer to your question, the first part of the question is this: that what do I think about October the 7th and what people have termed as genocide, and that's where it all started. The fallacy of the argument that it started on October the 7th is simply this: that they fail to appreciate the history of this struggle. Those that say it started on October the 7th appear to have forgotten that for 75 years before October the 7th, the Palestinian people have been subjected to October the 7th like attacks virtually every other day, where the Israelis will go into their territory, kill their people, displace them, destroy them, and take everything from them. Gaza was nothing other than a concentration camp. I mean, water couldn't go in, food couldn't go in, people couldn't move around freely. They were treating the people of Gaza as if they were animals. Now, when you cage human beings and treat them as animals and tell them they have no rights and say that foreigners cannot bring food into their territory, and you blockade them from the sea, and you treat them like not second, not third class citizens, but slaves, and systematically you torture them and kill them and bomb them whenever you feel like it, at the slightest excuse with the most sophisticated weapons, they lose all sense of humanity and they begin to react. I commend the fact that it took the Palestinian people, or the people of Gaza, almost 75 years of reasonable restraint before they actually decide to rise up and do something. Now, coming to October the 7th, of course, I deplore the killing of women and children. But the reality is this, and you need to ask yourself this question. What I'm about to tell you is a very profound question I'm going to ask you, and it may take you a while to figure it out. The most sophisticated security agency in the world, which Mossad and Shin Bet are, one of the most sophisticated armies and powerful armies in the world, which the Israeli army is, will suddenly allow people to come through their border like that, without detection, unable to stop them, and tell us the lie that it was all Hamas coming in. The reality is this. They wanted it to happen. They knew it was going to happen. It has been reported in Jerusalem on Israeli TV that on 2 occasions, the Netanyahu government were warned by the IDF and security agencies that there would be an attack. And they did nothing about it. They wanted it to happen. They wanted the people to come in. And when they came in, what happened. These are the reactions of people that have been suppressed and subjugated and occupied and dehumanized for 75 years. And when such people are allowed through your border on purpose, there all hell will break loose. So I do deplore the killing of innocent people on all sides, but at the same time, you need to understand it within its context. The Palestinian people are literally at war and are being subjugated, and they reacted in a very, very effective manner, in a way that I, somehow do not really applaud, because I don't like killing people. But the reality is that what did you expect them to do? If people came to your land and did precisely what the Israelis have been doing to us here in Nigeria, or to a section of Nigeria, let's say the Western region, and you expect us to keep quiet and do nothing, we would have 1,000 Hamasis overnight. And people would be glad to go in and commit all kinds of atrocities in the name of liberation of their people. So that's my view on that. It didn't start on October the 7th. It started 75 years ago. The problem is that most people have no idea because they were never interested in finding out the truth, because we have been sold the lie by the international media and Western historians that it is only the Palestinians and the Muslims that are terrorists. This is wrong. It is completely unacceptable. And the reality is it started long before that. So as bad as October 7th was, you have to understand for what it was. And you have to accept the fact that these people were acting what I would call self-defense. Now, in terms of, I believe everybody has the right to defend themselves, including Israel. But there's a distinction between defending yourself and defending your borders. Yes, Hamas throws a few rockets, this is what they say, over the border. Therefore, you now come in with the most sophisticated weapons and level the whole place. That was what was happening before, okay? As the slightest excuse. Of course, everyone has the right to defend themselves. But what the Israelis fail to appreciate, and the Americans that support them fail to appreciate, is this. There is a distinction between self-defense and genocide. You defend yourself against armies that are fighting you, against fighting men, against warriors. You send your warriors, your soldiers, to fight them, and may the best man win. But in this situation, the Israeli Defense Force has gone in there and killed no less than about 40 to 45,000 identifiable people. I can assure you it's a lot more than that. By the time we're allowed to have access to that place, you will have at least 100,000 women and children, 50% of whom are children. They've killed more journalists than any other conflict in the history of the world. They've leveled more hospitals, killed doctors, targeting babies. This is what they're doing. That is not self-defense. That is genocide. That is barbarity. And it is inexcusable, and it violates and breaks every single international norm and war, every single law of war, and every law of decency and humanity, including their own Torah. It is a disgrace what is going on there, and it cannot be described as war. And you cannot justify mass murder, ethnic cleansing, genocide, and the determination to completely wipe out a whole race of people, wipe them out and exterminate them in the same way that Hitler wanted to exterminate the Jews. You cannot justify that simply because of October the 7th, especially when you have been doing something similar that was done to you on October the 7th for almost 75 years before that. So that's the reality. I'm sorry, I forgot the second part of your question.
That's fine. No, you answered all of it. Thank you so much.
Right.
I want to play another clip from your interview, and I'm hoping you might need to put, in order for you to hear it, you might need to go mute on your computer,
Sure,
but you would be
we'll do
able
that.
to hear it. So
We'll do that.
Right, go on mute.
Thanks.
And then I'll play it.
Jerusalem is the heart, in terms of capitals throughout the world and throughout history, is the heart of not just the Jewish faith, but also the Christian faith and also the Islamic faith. It's the heart. You have Al-Aqsa Mosque there. You've had churches there, some of the earliest churches. You have all kinds of religious sites there. All three of the great monotheistic faiths are represented in Jerusalem, and they consider it to be the heart of their faith. It is unacceptable to treat Muslims as if they are filth in Jerusalem. It is unacceptable to say that you want to build your second or third Jewish temple over the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is precisely what they really have in mind. They want to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It is unacceptable to burn churches, close churches, spit on Christians, and urinate all over Christians. A lot of people don't know this is what they do in Jerusalem. It is unacceptable to give the impression that Jerusalem belongs to the Jews and to the Jews alone. The world has changed now. Yes, as a believer, as a Christian, I believe strongly in the role of Jerusalem, as any other Christian would. But the Jerusalem I believe in is a Jerusalem for all, where Christians, Muslims, and even Jews can preach and that can exercise their religious beliefs in peace without any harassment from any pagan government. Because the government of Israel, in my view, is not even a Jewish government. It's a pagan government. It's a Zionist government. And Theodore Herzl was a pagan. He was a Zionist. He was not a Jew. He was a Kabbalist. Okay? This is what they're doing there. It's nothing to do with religious faith. So what they're doing to you, what they're doing to my people, that is the Christian people and the Muslim people of the world in Jerusalem and throughout that whole region, is unacceptable. And Israel has to understand something. If it is that you believe that it is only the Zionists that have the right to worship anywhere and have the right to exist, if you really believe that, you are knocking on the door of World War III. If you push the thing too far, not just the entire Muslim world, but the whole of the Christian world, except for a few deluded and misguided, maybe 15, 20% of American Christians who know no better. The Muslim world, the Christian world, they will rise up against the state of Israel, and we will end up having a third world war over Israel. I pray to God this doesn't happen, because war is evil, and I do not believe in violence. However, they are pushing and knocking on that door. May that door never open. May they not go too far. May they respect the rights of the Palestinian people and the rights of Muslims and Christians, and even respect themselves when it comes to the affairs of Jerusalem and the affairs of the Middle East.
That, who could hear that and not wake up? I mean, literally, that is a stronger warning as any warning one could get, given what's happening with Iran. The world is on standby. Iran has said they will respond, but they're yet to do anything. You've got what's going on in southern Israel with Lebanon. Of course, the fact that Israel continues to wage war against Gazans, all under the quest of looking for Yahya Sinwar. Here's the thing. You mentioned Jerusalem, and it's so critically important, because with Jerusalem, one has to look at the fact that Zionism and Judaism are not the same things. Yet many conflate them together. Judaism, Christianity, Muslim are all part of Abraham's offsprings. So how do we free, and when I say we, I mean the world, how do we free Jerusalem from the kidnap, if you like, of Zionism? I think that's the only word that comes to mind right now, for want of being a decent broadcaster and not overstepping the mark.
No, that's an excellent analysis, and you have shown a very profound understanding of what the real problem is. You've actually put your finger on it, and that really is the lie that the world has sold, or rather that the Israelis have sold, and those that support them, to the entire world. Zionism was a concept that was introduced by Theodore Herzl in the 18th or 19th century, early 19th century. It has nothing to do with Judaism. It's a completely different concept. It's a concept that's basically based on apartheid. In other words, their philosophy, according to the Zionists, is that the Jews are a master race, and they should use political means, financial means, and any other means to dominate not just create not just an Israel for themselves, because there was no Israel at the time, but to dominate their own environment wherever they are, whether Europe or anywhere else, which is precisely why so many of them were hated over the years. Wherever they went, they came up with this idea that we must stick together with the master race, we must control the money supply, we must impose our own will, surreptitiously and quietly, and therefore, dominate the environment. That's what they did to Germany before World War I and during World War I. And that's why Hitler hated them so much, because he believed that because they control the fiscal system of the world through this concept, they destroyed Germany. And that's why Hitler came against them in World War II. But that's a different issue entirely. But the reality is that there is a big distinction. Judaism, in its purest form, is a noble faith. It is a faith that came from Father Abraham. Abraham is the father of Islam. Abraham is the father of Christianity. Abraham is the father of Judaism. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with being a Jew. And I am not against the Jews. I'm not against the Semites. But the reality is this: the people that are running Israel today are not Jews. They are Zionists. And there's a distinction between the two. And when people say, interchange the word, they are wallowing in what I would call perfidious ignorance. They just don't understand. And this lie has been sold to them. Judaism has nothing to do with killing women and children. Judaism has nothing to do with being unfair to other people. Judaism has nothing to do with taking other people's land and occupying their land. Judaism has nothing to do with creating a greater Israel from the borders of Egypt right up to Iran and controlling the whole of the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, and all those places, which is really their intention. That is what Zionism wants to do, not Judaism. And that is why the Torah Jews and millions of Jews all over the world are rallying and shouting and screaming against what Netanyahu is doing, are joining forces with people from outside Israel in the streets of America and elsewhere and say this must not be done in our name, and they believe in a peaceful resolution to crisis. So that's really the issue. Listen, it's not just about Theodor Herzl's theory. He was the intellectual. He was the father of Zionism. The people that really funded this and put it in place were the Rothschild family, who essentially were a German family, probably the richest and most powerful family in the world up till today, who are Jews and who are extremely powerful and literally control the world's money supply. And they will tell you, there are videos, if you read the history books, they will tell you up till today, there are videos where they say they are the ones that literally bought Israel, carved Israel out, and sent the Jews that suffered after the Second World War to Israel to establish what they call the Promised Land. What people don't know is that it may not have been Israel. It could have been Uganda. They lost by 1 vote. They got Israel by 1 vote when this decision was made. And they decided not to go to Uganda, but instead to go to Israel and claim some biblical, historical, ownership. Claim to the land. Yeah, ownership. But the reality is this. Listen, if somebody has been living, you were somewhere. Let's use ourselves as an example. We were somewhere. We came from somewhere. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Let's say Lagos. Lagos State. We all came from Lagos. We're all Lagosians. And then somehow we were kicked out of Lagos 2,000 years ago, and we wandered all over the rest of Nigeria. Indeed, all over, we were scattered as a consequence of God's judgments. We were scattered. And those that were now living in Lagos, who were there with us before, remained there. That is the Palestinians. They remained in that land, but we were out. For 2,000 years, Ireti, we were out of that land of Lagos. Then all of a sudden, they come along with this concept of Zionism, that you and I have the right to go back to Lagos, which we probably do, but to throw out all those that have been living there for 2,000 years from generation to generation, kill them, take their land, throw them out, torment them, turn them into slaves, genocide them, and subject them to the kind of atrocities that we ourselves were subjected to when we went to other parts of the world. That's what's going on here. And that cannot be in the name of Judaism. It is being done in the name of Zionism. It is being done in the name of colonialism. These people are not Semitics. I keep saying it. These people are basically white Europeans. They come from people like Netanyahu. Every single member of his cabinet, check their genealogy. I challenge you to do this. They are all from Ukraine, from Poland. I believe that the Prime Minister himself is from Poland. They're all from European countries. They are white settlers. They are not Arabs. They just came there. If you want to know what our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ looks like, look at the Palestinians. Look at the Arabs. That was a Semite. He was a real Semite. The real Semites are the people of the land, not these Europeans that are claiming to be Semites and using Zionism to ensure there's a Western enclave in the middle of the Middle East to be able to control the countries around there, subjugate them, influence them, and ensure that the world oil supplies continue. That's what's going on. That is what is happening. They are nothing but America's puppet. Without America, there will be nothing. And what they're doing to the world today is abominable. But they forget that there is a God in heaven. It's just a question of time. Now, I'm a believer. And I believe strongly in the notion of Israel as a nation, a great and powerful, fair and just nation, the Israel of King David, the great Israel that we read about in the Bible. I love that Israel, but that is not this Israel. This is not Israel of the Jews. This is Israel of the Zionists, something completely different. The real Israel can never be defeated because they're fair, they're just. They would accept the idea of a two-state solution. People like the Prime Minister, Yitzhak Rabin, who was killed. He made peace with Egypt. That is a great Israeli. That is a great Jew. We love people like that. Yitzhak Rabin was the prime minister of Israel a number of years, who made peace with Egypt and entered into the Camp David Accords. And now Israel and Egypt are at peace. That is a real Jew, not the Zionist called Netanyahu, who wants to genocide everybody and take all the land for the Zionist state.
Thank you so much. Now, I want to play another clip. I'm trying to squeeze in as many clips as possible, even though we've only got 18 minutes or so. Right. So I'd like to, can you play the next clip for me, please? This is to do with the American government.
Well, let me put it to you like this. The American government has been complicit in this genocide. Not only that, the British government has been complicit, as have the French and a number of others. The governments, yes, but the people on the ground, the majority of people on the ground, I can assure you, particularly in some of these countries, a large percentage of people in America, you see what's happening in their universities now. You see all the marches all over American cities. 5 years ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, nobody would have imagined that virtually every Western capital in the world, that, you know, you have demonstrations by younger people, older people, and even some Jews who are concerned about what the Zionist state is doing. And so the West is coming alive. America is coming alive to the sensitivities of what's going on there. And they're becoming more and more alive to their own responsibilities to the Committee of Nations. A situation whereby the International Court of Justice has ruled that genocide is going on in Gaza, that the ICJ, that is the International Criminal Court, has said they're going to indict Netanyahu and some of his ministers. A situation whereby you have even the Vice President of America, who is running for the president, Kamala Harris. I'm not her greatest fan, but one of the things she said, which really stung me and impressed me, was the fact that she told Netanyahu to his face, and said it on national television, that the barbarity has to stop in Gaza. So America is coming alive, but they have been complicit, and this has to stop. Well, let me put it to you like this.
I'm glad you mentioned Kamala Harris. Let me take it from the top. So we have Anthony Blinken, who has been literally going up and down the Middle East like a yo-yo, is like boomeranging between Israel, between Qatar, between Egypt. And every time he keeps giving a press statement saying, you know, we're close to the ceasefire, we're close to the ceasefire. Number one, how successful has he been? And how can we trust a man who keeps telling us we are close to a ceasefire when there hasn't been a ceasefire since the last one in December, you know, when there was the hostage exchange? The other point I'd like to bring in is the university encampments, because you mentioned the young people. The university encampments, which went on for weeks, and the fact that when you have universities such as Columbia, where professors are now being sacked for standing, a professor of journalism was sacked this week for standing with students. Journalism, which is about civic rights, civil rights, human rights, challenging status quo government, you know, questioning and interrogating thoughts, practice, policies, and ideology. He was sacked, and all these other things going on. Then you have somebody like Kamala Harris, who says, you know, I told Benjamin Netanyahu to his face, blah, blah, blah. But at the same DNC, she invited an Israeli couple to come and speak, but failed to invite a Palestinian couple to come and speak. How does... there's so much conflict in there. There's so much double speaking there. There's so much conflicting messages going on there. I'd like you to respond to all of that, please, if you don't mind.
Come on, what's going
on? Is the network? I think there's a network issue on your side. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead. Did you hear what I was saying?
Yeah, I heard most of it, but I didn't hear the last.
The last bit was about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, who at the same DNC, right, they invited an Israeli couple, incidentally the parents of one of the 6 hostages that was found dead this week. They invited an Israeli couple to speak, but refused and turned down the request of the Democratic Palestinian Americans to actually have one of them on stage. There's so much double speak and conflict there. I'd like you to respond.
Like I said earlier, the reason why the Zionist state, Israel, operates with such impunity and inhumanity and indulges in the kind of barbaric genocide and ethnic cleansing and mass murder that they do on a daily basis is because America is solidly with them, and America will endorse anything and everything that they say as long as the leadership of America does not change. And it goes for both sides, I'm sorry to say, whether Republican or Democratic. Now, if you look at the situation, if you look at that, these are the facts, and this is very relevant. The American Jewish population, the Jewish population in America is about 2%, only 2%. But if you look at the cabinet of President Biden, you'd find that they have something like 80% of the ministers in that cabinet, including Anthony Blinken, who's the foreign minister, is a Jew. You look at their financial institutions, almost 90% of them are controlled by Jews. If you look at their media, including Hollywood, almost 95% of them is controlled by Jews. The Jews control literally everything in America, including the frigging, I'm sorry to use that word, American Congress, who are sought to pass a law to say that criticizing the state of Israel and its genocide was against the law. They tried to pass that law. America is firmly in their grip. Americans don't control their own country. The Jews control America. Israel controls America. So I'm not in the least bit surprised about the double speak you spoke about, where they will say we're close to a resolution of the crisis. We're almost there. At the same time, the Jews, the Israeli puppet, the Israeli poodle that they have, suddenly gets up, or rather pit bull terrier, gets up and kills the leader of Hamas, the man that was negotiating a peace treaty with you. They say, we're almost there. You now send your little pit bull to go and bomb Iran. You say, we're almost there. The president of Iran is bombed. We're almost there. Hezbollah commanders are killed. We're almost there. You continue to slaughter people in Gaza. You tell them to move to one end and say it's safe there. You go there and bomb refugee camps, but we're almost there. How on earth can you expect anybody to have peace in a situation like that? There is no way. And I can tell you, as long as Bibi Netanyahu is in power in Israel, and as long as the American government, whether Republican or Democratic, continues with this policy of Israel can do anything, including the violation of international law, and get away with it, nothing will change. There will be no ceasefire. Their intention is to completely wipe out the Palestinian people. Now, if you complain about Gaza, October 7th, Hamas struck. What are you saying the West Bank people did? The followers of Fatah in the West Bank, who have been subjected to the kind of things they're being subjected to. Settlers, Israeli settlers take their land, kill them, and now you send the Israeli army there. They never indulged in October the 7th, but you're committing genocide and mass murder there as well. 10,000 people, including the majority of whom are tiny children, no more than about 12 years old, are in Israeli prisons as we speak, being tortured, being sexually molested, and so on and so forth. So the Americans are simply indulging in perfidy. They don't mean it. They're not serious. The people that I have hope in are not the American governments, are not the American leadership. I have complete faith in the ordinary people in America, particularly the young ones, who are now complaining and marching in the streets against the policies of their own government. And they're saying loudly and clearly, not just in America, throughout Western Europe, throughout the world, that our government is complicit in genocide and we are not going to have anything of this. After some time, these people will emerge. These are universities like Harvard, like Oxford, like Cambridge, my old university, Cambridge, so in the UK, so many other universities, Princeton, all over the world. And then you spoke of, they are saying enough is enough. Yeah. Eventually they will emerge, things will change. But let me just quickly end with this. You asked me also about the locking up of professors. Of course, this again indicates the repression that not just America is indulging in now when it comes to criticizing Israel, also the whole of Western Europe. They are criticizing and locking up. They are locking up, shutting down media houses, locking up people, arresting people that dare to criticize Israel because they're scared of the truth coming out. But that truth will come out no matter how many people you lock up.
Thank you. We're about to close, but I would like to play one clip. It's shocking. It's a clip from a podcast by Noah Meninha and Eitan Weinstein, both of whom are co-hosts of a podcast called Two Nice Jewish Boys. This particular clip has gone viral all week. It has met with a lot of condemnation, but first of all, people were shocked as to the blatantness of the things that come out of especially Aiton's mouth. Let's play.
So I would, if you gave me a button to just erase Gaza, every single living being in Gaza would no longer be living tomorrow, I would press it in a second. That's just, I think most Israelis
if that's agree. The choice, yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, even if it's not like right now.
Yeah, no.
I would press it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and same with the territories.
I would press it right now.
Mm-hmm.
No choice. No, Sharon is safe at home. God willing, I don't know. I haven't spoken to her in like an hour.
No, I'm saying for the chance.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I would press it right now. Give me that button and press it right now.
There you go.
And I think most Israelis would.
Yeah. Most Jewish
They wouldn't.
Israelis.
They wouldn't post. They wouldn't talk about it like I am.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't post. They wouldn't say I pressed it.
Yeah,
but they would.
They
press
don't
it.
have balls of steel like you.
They would, but they would press it. Right? Like if they were in a closet alone, they would. They wouldn't even hesitate.
Mm-hmm.
Someone came to them and said, "No one will know. You press this, all the Palestinians are gone." You'd be like, "Fucking hey, is there another one?"
That is possibly one of the most shocking. I mean, when given the fact that social media, YouTube, Meta, which is Instagram and Facebook, all the assets that belong to Mark Zuckerberg, even TikTok, given the fact that America, UK, the West, the EU are constantly talking about moderating language on social media. Here we have a podcast by two Jewish Israelis. The guy that started talking is his name is Eitan Weinstein. Believe it or not, he's a lecturer. He teaches at Tel Aviv University, right? And the one that's egging him on is Noah Meninha. We don't have much time, but I'm going to give you 3 minutes to just respond to what you heard there. Like I said, I was shocked. The world has been shocked. Everybody's condemning. And there's a mass campaign to have Apple remove it from their podcast list and for Spotify. Go ahead.
Well, let me just tell you this. That sentiment that every single Palestinian should be wiped off the face of the earth and exterminated and subjected to genocide is precisely the mindset of, I'd say, the overwhelming majority, sadly, of Zionists. In fact, that's what their whole premise, their whole philosophy, that's the premise of their philosophy and thinking. So I'm not surprised by this. And in any case, he's not just talking as if he's just some ordinary person reflecting the view of some ignorant person. These are university lecturers, very prominent talk show hosts, very prominent people in Israeli society. I've seen this podcast before, and it's shocking to me that it would be allowed to happen. But that represents their mindset. That is their view. And what do you expect when their Minister of National, I believe it's tourism, one of their ministers in Netanyahu's government, went as far as to say that the whole of Gaza should be nuked. In other words, a nuclear bomb should be dropped on Gaza and its people, and those that survived it should now be driven into the sea or split up into 25,000 people per person per package and sent to 100 different countries in the world. And Gaza should be completely taken over, bombed, nuked, people driven out, and then they'll take the area over themselves. This is the mindset of the Zionists. This is their worldview. This is what they wish to do. It is inhumane, it is barbaric, it is wicked. It is no different to the Nazis getting up and saying the Jews need to be exterminated. And the Nazis went ahead and exterminated 6 million Jews during the course of the Civil War. Well, the Zionist state has eliminated probably over 100,000 Palestinians in the space of 11 months. And they are going more and more, getting higher and higher each day. So I'm not surprised by this. And you ask, why is it? And nobody has sanctioned it. Nobody has taken it down. Because the social and traditional media, including Facebook, Zuckerberg, all of them are controlled by Jews. They are controlled by pro-Zionists. Even Elon Musk had to go running to Israel to go and beg for forgiveness after he had dared for people to, he had allowed people to dare and challenge Israel on X. So that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a world system that is essentially based on Satanism. Satanism is the foundation of Zionism, and Zionism is the foundation of the world money supplier. And then, of course, the imposition of apartheid, the imposition of a master race, and world control and world domination. That's what we're fighting against. We're fighting against Satan. These are simply disciples of Satan. Nothing more and nothing less. And God will rise up in our defense and eliminate them all eventually.
One of the things that I found interesting in there was when Noah corrected Eitan and said, "Oh, you mean Jewish Israelis?" I thought, I thought that was really interesting because it was part of, for me, a narrative where Judaism is co-opted by Zionism,
absolutely
away from the true Jew, worshippers of Judaism.
Yeah, absolutely. That clearly states what their mindset is. In other words, the Jewish Israelis are the real Israelis. Any other person that claims to be an Israeli, including the people from Ethiopia that goes at the Falashas, the black Falashas from East Africa that say, we're Jews and we're fighting for the Jewish state, including the Arabs that live there, who, by the way, are all treated like second-class citizens. And by the way, the Falashas are subjected to all kinds of medical tests and medical procedures that they can't have children because nobody here wants to have black children, so they make sure they can't have children. It's unbelievable. But of course they don't regard those as human beings. So he's talking about Jewish Israelis eliminating virtually everybody and continuing the system of apartheid to those that survive in the Palestinian areas and in Israel itself, because there is no such thing as an equal person to a Jewish Israeli in Israel. It is a system of apartheid, even against their own Jewish brothers who don't happen to be, Jews. Sorry, their own Israeli brothers who do not happen to be Jews or who happen to be Arabs or Muslims or who don't even happen to share the same skin color as them. They don't like dark people. They only use them. They don't like black people. They don't like Arabs. They don't like anybody. They only like sophisticated, so-called in quotation marks, white-looking, white colonial people who they believe know better than anybody else. They call themselves a democratic state that practices apartheid, a democratic state that deprives ordinary people of their rights as long as you're not one of them, a democratic state that indulges in genocide. They're not a democratic state. They're a pariah state. They're an evil state. And there are people that do not deserve to be regarded with the kind of respect that is being accorded to them. They don't deserve it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. As always, Chief Femi Fani-Kayode. What can I say? It's always an absolute pleasure talking to you. But the reason I like to have you here, you give it straight, as they say. Straight talk,
Thank you very much.
No holds barred. Thank you. And we look forward to the US to see what the US are going to say about the Two Jewish Boys podcast. We'll wait and see.
Indeed. Thank you very much indeed.
Have a wonderful
All
weekend,
the best.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All the best. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Lagos. That's Nigeria, Israel, wherever you are listening to us from. I know some of you listen from Europe, etc., etc. Another exciting, engaging, charged edition of Borderlines is over. The only show that takes you between borders or beyond borders. We'll be back next Friday at the same time at 4 o'clock. My name is Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. Yvonne is here to give you the 6 o'clock news. So I'm going to say bye-bye for this last time today. Have a fabulous weekend. Yvonne's going to take over. Bye. She might have good news on the petrol. I don't know. Maybe
breaking news. Even strife has hard for them to get things that just come so naturally to a lot of men who feel that leadership is their right.
We're in prisons for how?
19.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.